This is Grace, Grit, Getting It Done, the podcast for women who want to expand their influence, increase their earnings, and advance in their careers, all the way into the C-suite. I'm your host, Lisa Gillette. Let's get started. The pay gap is real. The pay gap exists. It's not a myth, but don't take it from me. Let's check the data. Research from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. Department of Labor, the World Economic Forum, McKinsey & Company, the Economic Policy Institute, Pew Research, Harvard Business Review, and Forbes, among many other sources too numerous to mention, all show the same data. On average, women in the U.S. are earning 87 cents on the dollar compared to their male counterparts in the same job, with the same title, and the same experience in the same company. Shocking, but not surprising. The numbers get even worse when you break it down. White women earn about 85 cents on the dollar. Black women, about 66 cents on the dollar. Native American women, around 57 cents on the dollar. And Latinas, just 52 cents on the dollar compared to their white, non-Hispanic male counterparts in the same job, with the same title, in the same company. A little ray of light, Asian women are earning around 91 cents on the dollar. And here's the good news. Over the last 2 years, the pay gap did close a little bit. The average went from 85 cents to 87 cents on the dollar. And the real news, at this rate, we'll reach pay parity in 2053. Yeah, I'm going to be dead by then, so good luck with that. But I digress. This isn't about performance. The pay gap is about perception and privilege. It's part of that inbred attitude I call the white face patriarchy, because both men and women buy into it. It's based in the core values of what I call bro club culture. These are the people who truly believe that they're special simply because of their gender and their skin color. It's that little boy groupthink mentality that's threatened by women's expertise, experience, and leadership ability. They openly deny the pay gap exists. And this is just part of an attempt to diminish women. This is the heart of competency bias, the misguided theory that men are smarter than women. This is the mindset of performance bias, another misguided theory that men are simply better at everything than women. And this is the root of maternal bias, the lie that women just can't do it all. They can either be good moms or good employees, but not both. So let me be clear, gender bias is real, the pay gap is not a myth, and there is data from so many sources to back this. My name is Lisa Gillette, and I'm the host of Grace, Grit, Getting It Done. And my goal is to close the pay gap. That's why I do this work. That's why I coach. And today, for the return of season 3, the premiere of Grace, Grit, Getting It Done, I'm going to interview a special guest, me. I'm going to interview myself. So let's get started. By the way, thanks for tuning in. I'm really glad you're here. I've got a bunch of free gifts. They're all in the show notes. I've also got a special course that I just launched, and I'm going to share how you can get your hands on that. So let's start with who's affected most by the pay gap. Who's hurt most? Well, obviously the children of working mothers. There's less resources for daily life. There's not enough resources to get adequate childcare. And the ability to grow a nest egg, to actually have a financial safety net, is severely reduced. So number one, children of working mothers. Number two, every woman who's the head of a single parent household. And number three, all women and their families are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their career because they are not being paid fairly with their male counterparts. What's the biggest struggle for women when it comes to negotiating their compensation? Well, I think the first obstacle, honestly, is not believing that we can ask. not giving ourselves the right to ask. And the underlying issue is not believing that we deserve what we're asking for. And the problem with that originates because as kids, we're told at school, stay in your desk, do your work, keep your head down, don't make noise, don't complain. You will be recognized, you will be rewarded for good work. Yeah, that does not work in a corporate setting. Because in a corporate setting, if you cannot speak to the experience, the expertise, the talent you bring, no one else is going to do that for you. They can't, and they won't. Another obstacle that many women, not all, but some, face when they want to negotiate either a new job offer or an internal promotion and a raise is that they're afraid of being seen as unlikable. Oh, that's another bias I didn't mention in the open, the likability bias. If we act like men, we are immediately looked upon as, oh, she's boastful, she's bragging, she's difficult, she's greedy, she's too ambitious. And I want to say one of the reasons that I focus on how to negotiate like a leader is because if you use typical male, I'll call them abrasive or obnoxious tactics, when you're a woman who needs to negotiate, you can shoot yourself in the foot. Another struggle for many women when it comes to negotiating their fair compensation is we wing it. We don't really prepare. We don't do our research. And one of the most critical things you've got to do in any negotiation is to bring the receipts, to bring the hard data. And I'm going to give you a few tools in the course of this podcast to help you do that. So, what it really comes down to simply is women may be unsure, uncomfortable, and not ready because they don't know how to ask, they don't know when to ask, and they don't know specifically what to ask for. And that's why I created my course. It's an online course. It's about 2 hours of video. It's a 30-page workbook that I call your salary negotiations workbook. And it brings you through when to ask, how to ask, what to ask for. And it offers customizable scripts so you know what to say when it matters at every step of the negotiation. So here's the next question I wrote for myself. In my experience, what is the biggest myth about the gender pay gap that needs to be dismantled? Well, number one, people say it doesn't exist. Hello, that's why I started this podcast with all that data. I mean, simply Google pay gap research and it'll all come up. You'll see it. The pay gap is real. I think another myth about the gender pay gap is that as women, we choose it. It's our fault because we don't negotiate it. Oh, okay, let me call that out. It is not our fault, but it is our problem. And that's why I do what I do. I want to help women negotiate and navigate both the internal and external obstacles to negotiating fair pay. And again, I want to over the research shows over 60% of people, men and women, do not negotiate. They're not comfortable talking about money. They don't know when, how, or what to ask for. So let's just acknowledge there are so many books on negotiation. I've bought many of them, but most of them are written by men for men. And I can't tell you how many books are written about women don't ask. I cry BS, we do, but I want to help all women negotiate in a way so that they bring the receipts. They know exactly how to present their argument so that it is the only sensible response is yes. I think the other, well, this is the biggest mistake. It's not a myth. There are men and some women that think it's appropriate that women are paid less. And although, what the heck are you thinking? No, that's wrong. No, 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 that's wrong. So I want to share with you my personal story. I spent 15 years in sports television, the last 10 as a senior vice president. And it's a very intoxicating environment. I mean, game day, there is like nothing else. When you're in master control and you can see all 10 games up and you're watching the switching going on, or you're watching the pregame and you're seeing how the stats are coming in. And I mean, sports are exciting. It's also an extremely toxic work environment. Um, I had worked in television since 1990. Yeah, I got some mileage on me. I'm old. I'm geriatric. But I had never worked in a place before I started working in sports where the sexism was so blatant. Like there was no sugarcoating. It was just right out there. Um, so one of the things that I did as part of my job when I first got working for a large multimedia company, international scope, um, I noticed that in their post-production facility, they had very, very old linear technology. And this was at the turn of the last century, 99 into 2000. And I was like, oh, where's all the nonlinear equipment? Where are all the toys? What are you guys doing here? This sports division is what's generating the revenue because people are tuning in and we're getting a high rate for the commercials that are airing in the game breaks. Why do we have this old equipment? And so I became very good at being able to see quickly what people's pain points were and understand what they wanted and how to communicate to them to show them that I could solve their problems. And by giving me hundreds of thousands, actually millions of dollars, we could actually be the premier post-production facility. And so I became very good at understanding the pain point and offering a solution to resolve it. And that's one thing I teach in my negotiation is how to really understand, oh, look, who's coming to visit. This is my colleague, Greg. For those of you who are listening, I have a cat, Greg, and this is my colleague, and he's here with me. He's going to help me today. So I would say that the other thing that I'm so good at, why I became so good at negotiating, is in working for this very large company, I built my staff out. I went from a team of 4 to close to a team of 48. And I had to make recommendations on salaries for particular people in my department when they were being promoted, say, from a manager to a director, or many times when they're going for a supervisor, which was an hourly rate, to a manager, which was exempt, non-hourly. And I had to say very clearly, look at the number of people they're supervising, look at the budget they're responsible for, look at the critical nature of the work they're doing. You can't bring someone in and pay them 70,000 when what the job they're doing is worth 100K. So I just became, I had to navigate a very sexist environment, and I had to negotiate many types of deals, including my own salary. So I know when I started there as a director, I went to a VP, I got a 40% increase. When I went from a VP to an SVP, I got a 30% increase. And normally when you change roles for most corporate organizations, internally it's a 12% increase. So this is just something that I've always done. I also grew up in a family where my sibling was ill a lot. So my parents spent a lot of time focused on this sibling who had bronchial issues. And I became very good at noticing the opportunity where I could go in, get my mom or dad's attention, make a request, and show them how by saying yes to what I was asking for, it actually benefited them. This is called WIFIN, what's in it for them. When you understand these concepts, which I go into in quite depth, and I'll be speaking about a little bit today, I go into these in depth in my online course. This is what sets you up for a successful negotiation. Understanding how when that person says yes to your request, you're actually solving a big problem for them. So that's my background a little bit. Oh, do I have any stories about negotiating that I want to share? Yeah, full disclosure, I did not negotiate my first job offer. I was just so excited to get health insurance. I said yes. Now, when I went to a competitor 2 years later, I definitely negotiated that job offer. And I was able to get 15% off of the first offer. That first offer they gave me was good. It was better than I expected, But I used this strategy that my dad taught me, God bless him. He's still watching over me. He said, "Look, kid, no matter what that first offer is, let them know how happy you are to be working with them, how excited you are about the offer, but use this line. I do need to ask, is there any upward movement in any of these numbers?" Then lean back and stop talking with a quiet smile on your face, just a little small smile. What my dad taught me there was that people are really uncomfortable in silence. So when you get that first job offer, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's your died and gone to heaven number. It's more money than you ever made, which is what happened to me in my second negotiation. I was floored. That was like a 75% increase. Crazy. What you want to do is you want to say, "Oh, I'm so excited about this offer. Can you please put it in writing? Send it to me in an email, and I want to review it. I'll get back to you in 24 hours." Even if you know exactly what's in it, I don't care. You're asking for it in writing, and you need 24 hours. And then when you reach back out in 24 hours, you're simply going to say, "I'm really excited about this opportunity. I am really honored that you chose me as the candidate. However, I do have one question. Is there any upward movement in any of these numbers?" Then lean back, smile, and stop talking. And of course, there's more money because there's usually a salary range. All of this is detailed in two free gifts I want to offer you. These are both listed in the show notes. However, you came to this podcast, whatever platform you're on, there are show notes, and you'll see two links to free gifts. One is called Paycheck, and the other is 4 questions. And all of what I'm sharing right now is included in those free gifts. So by the time I got to negotiating my third offer, and I think I already shared this, I was able to increase my paycheck by 75%. And I was able to increase the first offer by 20K. So you can tell when I was in that second job, I was being paid less than what I should have been making. But here's something that I will share with you. In my second job, I had a very small team. I was part of the on-air promo team. I had a director title. I had 3 people working for me. And I was the only person there in the company that could actually fulfill the role of director of on-air promo. I knew my staff could pull it together, and each one of them were trained in certain areas, but there was no one person who could fill in for me and do the job. Now, that company, we had been sold to another larger company. We had a new president. The old president left. We had a new president come in, and my boss at the time was really a very difficult person. And what I was able to negotiate with the new management was a new boss. So you might be negotiating for money, you might be negotiating for a certain title, you might be negotiating for a certain location, maybe remote time is important to you, or remote work, flex time, whatever. Just remember when you negotiate, it's not just the salary number, it's the whole package. So while I got an increase in my second job of 15% over the initial offer, I was able to leverage my ability and my expertise, experience, and know-how into getting a new boss in that job before I left a year later for this third offer, where I increased the original offer by 20K, and I increased my salary from the second job to the third job by 75%. Yeah, probably more details than you need, but I just had to share. So what I would say to every woman listening is let go of being likable. If you're honest and you're fair and people still have a problem with you, it is a them problem, not a you problem. Don't be afraid to ask. Just come in with the receipts, bring the indisputable data. Um, I'm repeating myself. If you can't speak to your past accomplishments, previous experiences, what you bring to the table, no one else can or will do that for you. So get comfortable talking about yourself. And then practice with it what's in it for them. How are you offering that perfect solution that is going to solve that other person's pain point? One question that I ask everybody I interview, and I'm asking myself, If I could go back and give my younger self one piece of advice, what would I tell myself? And this is critical. When people show you who they truly are, believe them the first time. I want to repeat that. When people show you who they truly are, believe them the first time. So let me share some of my process and some of my practical strategies. I did recently launch an online course. I've been teaching this course since 2018 in 90-minute webinars. But what I did was I created a 2-hour training. I put all of my strategies into what I call a playbook. And the training takes you through the playbook step by step. So you learn the exercises so that you start to believe and understand why you truly do deserve what you're asking for. One of the number one obstacles to any successful negotiation is one, not asking. The second obstacle to any successful negotiation is not believing you truly deserve what you're asking for. So that's where we start, is how to reset your mindset so that you truly understand and know you deserve fair compensation. And then I'll show you how to build your case, how to create your talking points, how to draft your deal memo. One of the things that's really important is to understand that your boss may totally support you, or the hiring manager may totally want to get you top dollar. But when you create what I call your deal memo, which lists your accomplishments and includes all the metrics about how you drove the needle, how you generated more revenue or saved revenue and returned it to the bottom line, and then what the research is regarding fair compensation for your job, in your industry, in your geographic location, and then any other bits of information that show you know that what you're asking for is fair. You put that in what I call a deal memo, a one sheet, and you leave that with your boss who can take it to HR or take it to their boss, or you leave it with a recruiter or the hiring manager. It shows them that you're serious. You're not coming to play. You did your research. You know what you're asking for. So that's what the online course consists of. Let me talk to you a little bit about the process that I use for women who feel anxious or even guilty about asking for fair compensation. I give you a simple framework that I call the top 5 profile. And this is how you should be talking about yourself always. It's really a simple elevator pitch, but it goes like this: your name, your function, the people you help, the problems you solve, the results you deliver. Let me repeat that. Your name, your function, the people you help, the problems you solve, the results you deliver. I'm going to use me as an example because I'm interviewing myself. Why not? My name is Lisa. I'm an equal pay activist and women's leadership coach. I work with women who work in male-dominated field, the people I help. I guide them how to navigate bro club culture and negotiate fair, fair compensation, the problem I solve, so that they can create the career they want with the title and salary they deserve, the results I deliver. It's called Top 5 Profile, and this is one of the things I teach. I also teach a simple, it's not a task tracker. Yes, obviously, you want to know what your deliverables are. You want to know what your objectives are, the things you need to do to help the company reach their larger goals, reach their annual objectives. But you want to collect the wins. You want a hard copy file. It's either on your desktop, but a written file that includes, oh, the head of finance came up to me and said, hey, thank you for creating that presentation so my team understood they can't impose arbitrary deadlines on paying vendors. Or, oh, the president of the company said, when you spoke up in that meeting and offered that solution, you really made a difference. Write all that stuff down. Your boss told you good job. A colleague in another department asked you for help and you delivered. Write that all down, because not only is your task tracker the things you've actually done, you're going to write down the logs, how you moved the needle for the company by saving money, by saving time, time is money, or by generating revenue. And not only are you going to use that in your annual reviews. You're going to use that when you talk about yourself in your next job interview. Um, I also want to share with you how to deflect. Let's go here. How to deflect. We're talking about strategies. What are your salary requirements? This is included in 4 questions, but what used to be the case is no longer the case, is recruiters could actually ask you, hey, what is your current salary? That is illegal now. Although with all the recent changes in legislation, who knows whether it's going to be okay to do that again. I don't know. But when you're asked, what are your salary requirements when you're interviewing for a new job, you simply want to respond by saying, I don't know enough about the job yet to answer that fairly, and I don't want to give you an answer that doesn't make sense. So can I ask you some more questions? All of this is covered in 4 interview questions you need to ask. And again, the freebies are in the show notes. You can find links to get them. One important question I need to answer: what role does mindset play in the entire process? And how do I help women unlearn internalized rules that are holding them back? Well, we talked about that message we get as young women, young girls, kids, about do your work, keep your head down, don't complain. Your work will be recognized. Yeah, that doesn't work that way in corporate, which is why the top 5 profile is really critical to learn. But let's just talk briefly about the difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness. Self-consciousness can also be part of that syndrome called inner critic, often referred to as imposter syndrome. Short note for anybody who suffers from imposter syndrome, it means you're a high achiever, because you cannot suffer from imposter syndrome and say, oh my God, I'm not good enough. What if somebody tells me they realize I'm not good enough and asks me to leave? That's imposter syndrome. You don't suffer from imposter syndrome unless you're a high achiever. So just consider that. But talking about self-conscious versus self-aware, self-conscious is when you turn the focus inward and start criticizing yourself. You are no good to anyone. No one you care about, not the team at work, not your company, and certainly not yourself. So let's replace self-consciousness with self-awareness. Let's acknowledge we're not good at everything. Let's acknowledge what we are really good at. Let's keep developing those skill sets, and let's be able to talk about them in a way that people clearly understand what you bring to the table. My company is Big Sky Coaching and Consulting, because I really do know from practical experience and from working with hundreds of women now since 2018 that I coach with, and a few men, when you are able to see the big picture, you will find the opportunity. But if you take your focus to yourself and always think, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not strong enough, or I don't know how to do it, all of that stuff, you got to remember you have agency. You're an adult and you wake up every day to make a choice. And if you choose to be the leader of yourself and to step into the world knowing you have agency and you have the ability to make things better, that's a much better way to live than to keep on with the self-criticism and the self-doubt and the self-denial. So choose self-awareness, know what you're good at, know what you're not, let go of that stuff you're not good at. Find someone else who can do that. Stop the self-conscious self-criticism. That is not serving you, and it's not serving anyone else. So I want to end this podcast with 2 messages I want you to walk away with. One, I want to define the true leader. You don't need the big title. We see today many people in very powerful roles are not leaders. They could not lead themselves out of a paper bag. They're not leaders. So you will be seen as a leader regardless of your title if you have the ability to motivate yourself and to inspire yourself to do the things you're uncomfortable doing, you're afraid to do, like negotiating. Go and learn it. I'm offering a course called Negotiate Like a Leader. And the reason I called it that is because if you want to lead people, you must know how to motivate and inspire yourself so that you can motivate and inspire other people. And this course has the step-by-step framework that takes you through how to cultivate the right mindset, how to understand that you're not being paid fairly and that you should be paid fairly, with a framework how to ask, with scripts that are customizable, how to collect the data, how to craft your talking points, how to create your deal memo that you can leave behind that lists all your accomplishments, how to prepare, how to practice. And yes, what to do if you're told no. Because in some instances, companies are suffering, and there are other things you can negotiate for besides your salary. So I cover all of those topics in Negotiate Like a Leader. Because when you can motivate people to do things they don't know how to do and inspire them to do things they were afraid they could never do, that is true leadership. I'd like to say go to show notes. Make sure to download your free gifts. 4 questions you've got to ask in every interview, and paycheck, how to really quantify your contribution to the bottom line. And then I'll end by saying, reach out to me on Instagram. I am Big Sky Coach _Lisa _Gillette. I am on LinkedIn, Lisa Gillette. My last name is Gillette, just like the brand name. You're going to see my company is Big Sky. That's how you know you found the right one. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Big Sky Coach _Lisa. You can get to me on TikTok, Big Sky Coach _Lisa. And I'm now on YouTube. So if you're watching this in video on YouTube, you got to see my cat, Greg, my colleague. And I really appreciate everybody who's listening. Please reach out to me. I really want to hear from you. And remember, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Thanks for listening. This has been Grace, Grit, Getting It Done. I'm your host, Lisa Gillette. If you have questions or you'd like to reach out and be a guest, drop me an email, lisa@bigsky.coach. That's lisa@bigsky.coach.